Welcome to Julian's Lightroom, episode 20. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to my good friend, Lexi Oplinger. Lexi is a Primal Movement coach, and we first began our friendship in 2023 in the first Primal Movement Coaches certification. Ever since then, Lexi has been a great positive force in not just my life, but in the entire Primal Movement community. She's a big thinker, she's a free thinker, she's very creative, and she is a fantastic curator of mindset and perspective. And she was kind enough to join me on this episode, share a lot about what's going on in her life, how she views things, how she lives her life. And we had a great conversation. So without further ado, I present to you, Lexi. You know, 'cause the gym settings that you're talking about and you're sharing with me now, were those before you got involved with Primal Movement, or did any of the Primal training, or was that in around the same time?
In and around the same time. So they happen at the same time. So I was like learning
Yeah,
Primal Movement, and I was also working out at a gym. So that's where I really learned. Like I was applying it at the gym, wanting to
yeah,
do my own thing. And also that's what coaches are there for. They're there to help you. They're there to support you. And at the same time, you have to have a deep understanding with that coach. Unless they're your coach, like your one-on-one coach,
mm,
then it can be difficult to get to the layers that are deep enough for you to understand one another of what's best for one another.
mm,
But before Primal Movement, I mainly ran and did yoga.
yeah,
And
yeah,
outside of fitness, my world was very like I worked a lot. And so
yeah,
all I wanted to do was to like calm my mind down, do yoga, and then also run, which also calmed my mind down. So my fitness
yeah,
was to help my mental state to just decompress.
mm,
And yoga is a very individual thing, and running is also a very individual thing too. So it was this weird thing of there's so much going on in my mind, but then
yeah,
I used these things to help calm my mind down. And I didn't go to a gym that much. I went with my friends sometimes.
yeah,
I went very seldomly, I'd say, actually.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
You engaged in a recode process before the Primal Movement certification,
Hmm.
and that was with BAM.
Hmm.
That was with BAM. Um, can you tell me a little bit about the experience you had having a Primal Movement coach and that kind of coaching approach versus other coaching approaches you've experienced in other
Hmm.
modalities before? Because you had
Yeah.
mentioned just a minute ago that sometimes a coach would have suggestions and you'd have to continue setting your boundaries and stating your boundaries, um, knowing what's good for your body. Is that something you felt like you also had to practice or exert in your Primal Movement coaching experience, or was it different?
Great question. I had such a positive experience having that was the second time I had like a coach, so to say,
Mm-hmm.
in the fitness space. And it I don't even know if I have the words to grasp what that has done for me in my body, because like I still feel the benefits today. Like every day it's still implemented, applied. The level of awareness I think is like it's that is really, really high for me. And for me to
Yeah.
see that and feel that, and then it applies to every single day is like that's priceless for me. I can't put
Mm-hmm.
any money on how much awareness I've gained from that
Mm-hmm.
in that sort of short amount of time. I think we worked together for maybe 3 months or
Yeah.
4 months, and
Yeah.
that is quite a very short period of time, like a blip in my whole lifetime, to give
Mm.
me such a high value of awareness of myself.
Yeah. No kidding. It's like,
Yeah.
grand scheme of things, it's like that's a very high return on investment. That's a very
Hmm.
small amount of time to invest for the rest of life and the awareness
Hmm.
that carries with you.
Yeah.
Um, oh man, I had a great question. It slipped away from me. But
Can I add one more thing on the coaching note?
please, please.
I mentioned before that for me personally, unless I work with a coach one on one and they know my goals, what I want to do,
Mm,
where I'm going, and how to best support me, when to work with a coach helps you get to where you want to go a lot faster. So you
Yeah.
could do things yourself. You could learn to and train and do whatever you want to do. But I've always seen it, if I want to do this a lot quicker or in
Mm.
a different environment that I'm not doing it by myself, like a coach
Yeah.
is just going to help me get there a little bit faster and help me not go so far off track, but keep me really dialed in of where I need to go that I get there a lot quicker. And
Yes.
it helps to have friends and people, like-minded people, to help support you along the way. And yeah, that's how you and I met. So I'm very grateful for that.
It's been so much fun. It's been so much fun. I feel like there's been so many different like chapters and like waves of different things we've gotten to engage in. Like when you, I, and Steven began the Sunday calls and like allowed people to come in. That was a really cool thing. That was a really amazing space. And it was never a question in Steven or I's or anyone's mind, the effort and organization and intention that you were putting into it. And it was really awesome to have a teammate to do that with. And the Primal Movement space has provided such a crazy concentration of really talented, genuine, and open people to connect with and to engage with. And yeah, it makes me really happy. I see the smile on your face. I'm feeling like a smile on my face just talking about it. It excites me for like what has been and what will be. I think something else I want to know, because it's been almost 2 months since the Primal Movement Summit began, and I was just curious if you've had any reflections since, or any experiences since, or if there's anything you've taken away from that and integrated, or just what that time
Mm.
gave you.
Yeah, what a crazy experience it really feels like. Um,
Hmm.
Shortly after, maybe a week or 2 weeks after, I was trying to create words for a post that I was going to make about my time there, reflecting on it. And something that I kept coming back to, but I never posted in this way, was the Primal Movement Summit was the summit meaning the peak expression of
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And so when people see the summit and they see the pictures and they see everything, what what people may not see or may not have been part of the journey for was everything leading up to it, which is something that
Mm.
you and I got to experience a little bit of, knowing each other for a few years, and everything that Bam, Carly, Jameson have been doing even before Primal Movement, that has been kind of cultivating, or the ground, the foundations have been laid to create something like the Primal Movement Summit. And so it's really inspirational and aspirational, and people may see that and be like, oh, I want to create an event. I want to create this. I want to create that. And it's like, you can do that and it will be amazing.
Yeah.
And just know that you can like create an event in 2 or 3 years, but everything you do now leading up to that is what's going to make it so special. And
Mm.
so I have a lot of gratitude and a lot of respect and admiration for everyone in the Primal Movement community, in that way, that we've all been on this journey together for a few years, and to
Yeah.
experience it in that way, because that was really special.
It was so special. And, you know, just jumping off of what you said about what it takes to create something like that, the only way for all of us to have come together was like each person who came there has a history of dedicating to their health, has a history of dedicating to the recode and really putting the work in. Like, not one person there, you could tell, you could feel it, was like, oh, I'm just like kind of here. It's whatever. I don't really think about my body or care about it or anything. It's like every person there, you could see it on their body, you could see it on their face, you could hear it when they spoke. They want to learn, they want to improve, and they want to serve and help people. And excuse me, that was that was just such a powerful environment to be in. Such an just invigorating energy. It was like
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I could do that every day. Like normally I wouldn't be sprinting that much at the gym, but I was like, with all these people around here, I'd do that all the time. Like it felt
Mm-hmm.
amazing. It felt so good. Um, I want to know what this Primal Movement coaching journey has given you, taking the coaching role, because that's a role of leadership. And you mentioned earlier that, the job of a coach when you do one-on-one work can really be, it has to really be dynamic if it's going to suit and understand and connect with the person that you're working with. Like, you need to really intimately know that person's predispositions, what they need, what works for them, and what suits them. How do you feel that engaging with that coaching role or taking that coaching role, how's that helped you grow? What has that taught you? What do you think about?
Coaching feels like one of the biggest blessings, of my whole life, because it allows me to interact in a team environment, even though there's just two people. And I think that's really, there's no less. Like, a team requires two, I believe. I mean, you could say yourself is like me, myself, and I, but like a team, that's pretty dynamic, right?
Yeah.
So it allows me to thrive in that area that I like to be in. And being a coach teaches you so much about yourself that I don't know that you would learn anywhere else. It's happening in like real time. Like a 9-to-5 job, if you work on your computer, you're doing something and then sending it. You're doing it, and there may not be as direct, instantaneous feedback, but when you're coaching with someone, it's instantaneous. I say this, you do this. I say this, you try this. It's very dynamic in real time. So there is no room for hesitation. It's just all happening in the moment.
Yeah.
And for people to be in a coaching role is, I don't know if everyone gets to do that in their life, unless maybe they become a parent in some way, but even then it's a little different. Like, a parent-child relationship is very different from like a coach and their client, so to say.
Yeah.
And to work in that capacity I feel really honored to do. And all of the clients I've worked with, I feel really honored to work with, because it takes mutual trust. You learn to trust yourself more. You trust them more. There was a long time I went through, probably like 6 months to a year, when I was coaching. I really doubted myself. Like, when I go to sleep at night, all I would think about was like, did I do the right thing? Did I do too much today? Did I push this person too much? Should I push them more? And like, you don't know until you do that. And so now I don't have as much hesitation or as much ruminating thoughts on like what to do, because you just learned and practice. But there's definitely a learning curve of just practice. And the more you do it, the more practice you get, and the more levels, the more edges you reach. You work with this kind of client, maybe a youth athlete, then you work with an older person, and then your edges start to you get to the edges, and then you go to another edge.
Yeah. You have to continuously face yourself. Like, when you're coaching with someone, I believe they are a reflection of your capacity as a coach. And that can be a really scary thing, because it reveals to us maybe areas where we could use some work or where we could improve. And that could bring on some doubt or like self-consciousness, but it's also the key, and it's also the light that shines on, oh, this is where I can grow. It's like that which allows us to become a better coach. And so I find it to be this constant dance or battle of these two kind of contradicting feelings, which is like, facing yourself is where you create and gain experience and grow and gain confidence, but then it's also where you're humbled at the same time. And it's this like forever dance between the two. And I would completely agree with you on the note that a parent-child relationship, though maybe it shares some aspects, it is different from a coach-client relationship. And I often think of the coaching role. I do this like kind of like mind experiment where I think back to what maybe smaller communities or cultures like thousands of years ago might have looked like. They probably would have lived in these like close-knit communities, and a coaching role would probably generally be like the older kid leading the younger kid, and them being like close enough in age but also different enough in experience that they could help guide and lead them to whether it's hunting or whether it's here's where you can play and here's where it's dangerous, and all those different kinds of things. And I feel like this like coaching role that we take on is us trying to, or making an effort to connect back to those kinds of roots and those opportunities where we would have grown up in a community and we would have had people a little bit younger that we could be a role model to, and then we would have had people a little bit older that would have been our guides and our role models, and always being in this like in between space of like these people are teaching me and then I get to teach them, and like that flow of energy back and forth. I think that a lot of us can be deprived of that in the Western world in modern day. Some people grow up, they don't have siblings, and they might not have any family, and then they might not have something like a community center or just a community to be that role model in, or be that leadership role in. Have you had any other experiences in your life besides coaching roles where you felt like you got a chance to take that leadership role with people?
In terms of like a one-on-one situation, like mentoring someone?
Maybe that, or maybe even in like a community or like a group scenario where maybe you'd be a role model for someone, even if it wasn't your intention necessarily.
Yeah, I yeah, for sure. I think that naturally happens without us even really knowing that it's happening.
Mm.
There's a few people that I'm thinking in my life that I met when I was in college, that were my mentors or people that I looked up to. And just as much as I went to them for questions and like, hey, this is going on in school, like, what do you think? Or like, I have this idea about business, like, what do you think? Like,
Mm.
my perspective and curiosity, I think I was also giving, it's a give and a take. Like, I wasn't always just asking, asking, asking. I was providing them with some, I don't know, perspective, or like perspective of someone who's living this, like at this age in this life right now. And
Mm.
I think they valued that in some way, or I don't think they would have gave me some suggestions or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So there's that. And I think it's just as the example you provided before, like we may not even know that we're doing it, but it's just like the older person in the group kind of mentors or helps out the younger person, and then the younger person helps out the like really small kids and like plays soccer with them and just goes and hangs
Mm.
out with them. And you're kind of doing it without really knowing that you're doing it, just by spending time with people, listening to them. Um, I think that's like one of my biggest gifts that I like to give people, is just my presence of like, I'm here, I'll give you my undivided attention. Like,
Mm.
what can I help you with just by like being here and listening? Like that's what I
Mm.
try to do.
Yeah, that's an amazing perspective, because I kind of perceive it as like this the ability to be mutable to
Mm,
a context. And so if you show up and you're present and you be your authentic self, depending on who's around, you can embody different archetypes, if you will. Um, like an example I'm thinking of is like if I'm at the Primal Movement Summit and I'm around like Bam or Jameson, in my perspective, they take on almost this like older brother archetype for me, because one, they are older, they're more experienced, they're kind of generally going to be, you know, leading, as far as like the movement stuff, and like what my perspective of like, okay, here's an example of the kind of man I could grow into being. And then in other areas of my life, I may be in and around people who might be a little bit younger and may be looking for someone who's a little bit older, more experienced. And then my relation to that person changes a little bit, because I may be like, oh, wow, they might be looking to me for how to behave or how to act or what kinds of choices to make. And, I think we can change back and forth between those spaces depending on the people around us.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah, it there's two things that come to mind when you say that. One is like people are always watching,
mm,
even if you're not, like say I go to the grocery store, like we're always watching. You're just scanning your environment of like,
Yeah.
this person's walking over here. I'm not going to run into them. There's this child running around in the store. Like you're
Hmm.
always watching what's going on. And so even just by being yourself out in public, like people are watching you.
Yeah.
And that you could grace people with whatever kind of energy you want of like, I'm here, I'm present. You could smile at them,
Mm.
etc. And oh, there was one more thing, Julian, on the topic of oh, earlier in the podcast, you mentioned the word being humble as a coach, and just being
Mm.
humble as a person. And something that I think about a lot is that I try to be open to everyone and
Mm.
hear what other people have to say. And I'm not better than anyone and I'm not lower than anyone, but I try to see people like eye to eye. And
Yeah.
when I see people that way, or when I talk to them, I hope that they can feel that I'm not trying to come from a different angle, but more like, oh, I'm just going to listen to and hear what you have to say.
Mm.
And that really opens the floor. It opens the door to a lot of connections, communication, spaces, places, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
That's a great way to um, make someone feel welcome in a space and let them know of their inherent value. Because, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, perhaps uh, perhaps you might be older than someone, but they could always have something to teach you. And I always try to remind myself that I have something to learn from every single person I meet, no
Mm-hmm.
matter how much more experienced I might be in this thing or that thing, or if I'm a little bit older or who knows what. There's always something to learn from someone. And I think it's a beautiful gift to give someone, to maybe like indirectly make them feel that, is that like you have value. You have inherent value, and it's not based on whether I deem you as valuable or not, or anyone else deems you as valuable. You are invaluable. You are valuable as you are. And giving someone your present mind, your attention, your undivided attention, and listening to them, that's such a beautiful gift. That's such a beautiful gift. I think it opens up. Mm, I don't know. I think it opens up something higher within people. It opens up something a little bit bigger. It kind of makes me think of like unconditional love, where it's like no matter who you are, where you're at, um, you have value, and I'm here to let you know that. And I'm going to try to orient myself so that way you do know that. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah. Listening. Um, I love, I used to be the person who like wouldn't talk at all. I just enjoyed listening and I surrounded myself with a lot of people who were older than me and I purposely put myself in those situations for work, internships, and college related
Mm.
activities. But I always felt like I didn't have value because I was
Mm.
always there to learn and listen and absorb and just like be within the environment. And I can't remember any specific moments, but when someone would ask me, "Oh, Lexi, what do you think?"
Mm.
Like that would be my shining moment of like, "Oh, you noticed me."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "And you're giving me the floor to speak?" Like
Mm.
I could almost cry just thinking about it because for someone to see me
Yeah.
and give me the space to speak, I was like, "Oh, I could do that?" And I didn't know I could do that before.
Yeah. And if they're asking you to speak, it's like they have a desire. They are like, what you're going to say is going to bring value to us. We want that from you. Like, share your gift with us is a
Mm-hmm.
really, really beautiful request. Um, Something that, well, I love that you are in a place where you are speaking your mind and you're sharing what you have to think, and that was apparent at the Primal Movement Summit. I loved every time that you chimed in and shared and spoke your mind, because I think in those big groups, especially, like, it was a pretty big group, like there was almost about 30 people there. It can be a little bit of like dark, deep, open water, like extending yourself into that and saying what you have to think amongst the crowd, even though we're all very, kind of like-minded. Um, but something I notice about you that I think you're really good at is your ability to see the uh, patterns throughout the world. And one of your pieces of content recently enlightened me to that because you're making all these amazing analogies. Like, like sometimes pressure is a good thing and diamonds are created under pressure, but also a loaf of bread needs to rise on its own. And there's,
Mhm.
you're sharing this like underlying principle with these kind of more three-dimensional visual manifestations in our world of how these things work. And like with a guitar string, it's too floppy, it's not going to sound
Mhm.
good, but it's too tight, it might break and cause like some really crazy shit. But if you tune it just right and has the perfect amount of tension, you know, you play a really beautiful song. And
Mhm.
I think that that's an amazing value, an amazing skill, an amazing perspective to have. Um, and for me, it really highlights your desire to be team oriented, because I think team oriented is taking these things that maybe seem separate or apart and then bringing them together and unifying them. I think you do a really good job of seeing the world around you and understanding and like unifying it together. Um,
Mhm.
have you always seen the world in that way? Is that something that feels like has been cultivated, or where's that come from? Why do you do that?
Thanks, Julian. I really appreciate that. I I really, really appreciate that. And it also takes the understanding or the openness for someone else to receive that too. So thank you for receiving that and being open to seeing it, and you know, you understand it. So when I say things, sometimes people don't understand, or the metaphors that I use, like sometimes people don't understand. So
Mm,
um, I feel like I was always thinking and seeing the world in this way. And when I was younger, in high school and when I went to college, it felt very lonely that not everyone, quote unquote, spoke the same language that I did, because
mm,
I'd rather speak in metaphors or use metaphors as my preferred language than
yeah,
like say things as they are. Like I'm
yeah, yeah.
very, um, I don't think the word is esoteric, more like, texture or like colorful. Like I'd
Yeah.
rather my words speak with colors than with like be very black and white. And
Poetic almost, if you
yeah,
will.
okay,
Yeah.
exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, every time I would see something or witness something, I just would want to, like, my mind just translates it into another language, which is like the guitar strings or the loaf of bread or whatever I'm dealing with. Of like, Lexi, you're dealing with a lot of pressure. You're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. Like, you could either become the diamond if you want more pressure, or
Mm,
if you need a rest, like, you could be the loaf of bread, because both
mm.
exist and both are perfectly okay.
That's what's
So
up. I love
that's
that.
what's
Like
up.
giving yourself permission to be a loaf of bread.
And bread is delicious.
It
Like, bread is
is, right?
delicious.
Everybody
Diamonds
loves it.
diamonds are amazing too. So there's
Mm-hmm.
no, and that's the humbleness of like a diamond isn't better than a loaf of bread, and a bread's not better than a diamond. It's just
Mm.
they require different processes to get their desired state.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
each person has that.
Yeah.
And that's like, as a coach, it's like, do I need to put more pressure on this person to help them get the breakthrough? Or do I
Yeah.
need them to rest because they're really overwhelmed?
Yeah. That's an art. That's really an
Mm-hmm.
art. And it's no small feat being willing to step into that role to try to understand what someone needs.
Mm-hmm.
Because a human is so seemingly complex. They are complex, but so colorful and so capable and so much fun. And yeah, I think we get to learn a lot about ourselves when we try to learn about other people. But
Mm-hmm.
man, yeah, I think that I also love analogies. I also love seeing the world in metaphors, and I think it's because I believe the world behaves in these ways because of those underlying principles and that they are all true. Um,
Mm.
and
Do
I
you
think it
have a,
translates. I just want to say one more thing. I think it
yeah, yeah.
translates into your content really well. I think that's very like the poetics of it, along with the inspiring message, makes for really great content. I think that's a big reason why people are drawn to you. Um,
Mm. Thanks,
but I'm
Julian.
sorry I cut you off. You're gonna say something.
I was gonna say if there's any themes or examples in your life right now that are very like obvious and shiny off the top of your head of like something you've experienced via a metaphor.
Oh yeah, big time. Big
Let's go.
time. It's
Let's
actually
go.
extremely relevant that you ask me that right now.
I love this so much.
Um yeah. There's there's this theme of there's this theme of discovering what archetype I fit into, I think, or what archetype I want to become or grow into. And the theme is almost this like wind or air, uh, kind of like air, wind, spirit kind of thing going on. And, I'm always learning. I'm always trying to keep my mind open. And recently, with my girlfriend, I've been learning about astrology and those kinds of things, which can be really interesting. And I'm completely open to it. So number one, I learned that I'm an air sign, which is awesome. And I started thinking to myself, I go, I have this like particular interest in birds, like
Mm.
these little creatures that are so free and so flowy and so athletic and dynamic, and they own the wind, they own the air, they own the sky. And I've had so many just profound moments in nature with birds that I can look back on and continue to see within myself. And then also, like I got this message on Instagram from my girlfriend's sister. She sent me just a picture of a bird, like just a picture of a bird, and she goes, "This reminds me of you." And I was just like, "Dude,
Spot on.
that is spot on. What's going on?" Um, and then now I'm starting to understand, like, okay, like this whole like concept of like spirit animal thing. Is kind of taking form, and I'm just kind of understanding like, okay, like I do like to be free, I do like to flow, I like to jump around, I like to move between things, but I also like home. I also like returning to a home base, which is what birds do every year. They migrate and they come back and they nest in the same spot, and then they go migrate and they come back and they nest in the same spot. And I also, when I was younger, had this fixation on this particular bird called the peregrine falcon, which is the fastest animal on the planet. It is the animal that moves the fastest on the planet. And I remember I did like a little, science class presentation on it. And yeah, it's just always been kind of a fixation for me. And then, as of recently, I've been living back at home in this like home base and stuff, but I've also been having this really intense desire and bubbling feeling to like jump, to like if you see like a video of like a bird that's getting ready to take its first flight, or it's just like kind of hobbling up to the edge and like looking over it and maybe like doing a little bit of this preparing,
arm flapping.
yeah, and then it just goes fuck it, and then it jumps off and then just goes for it, right? That bird has no prior experience or guarantee that it's going to fly, but something in it, which is kind of like a trust in itself, knows that it can do it. And it also has its leaders and its parents and like the whole world around it to let it know like you can do that and you'll be good and you're actually meant to do that. So thanks for asking that. That was there's been a lot of this bubbling up in me right now, so it felt good to share it with you. And there is kind of this desire to jump, desire to trust, but it's not a when a bird jumps, it's not this chaotic risk. It's like built to fly. And so it has to fly. For a bird to be healthy and live its life in its biggest expression, it has to fly. And I think that I've been relating to that myself. It's like, I gotta fly. I need to do something. I need to be something. I need to move in a way that feels like flying. And that's gonna make me feel really good. And I feel that every time I travel, every time I do something new. The Primal Movement Summit, I love being in an airport. I love getting on the plane. I love getting off. I don't like sitting in the plane. Like, I don't like none of that. But just the experience of, like, I'm going from here to there. And there's a task and there's a mission. There's an experience coming up. And some of it's going to be uncomfortable. Some of it's going to be amazing. Some of it's going to make me, like, humble, but some of it's going to teach me things. It's like, I love that. I need to eat that up. I want so much more of that. That's been the theme for me right now. Like,
I love it.
very heavily. Do you have is there anything coming up for you that you want to share, whether that's in your own life or anything I said that sparked an idea?
Yeah, birds are so magical. Like Julian's archetype magical. Let's go. I love it so much. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that.
Thanks for asking.
It's so beautiful to hear what people are experiencing in their life, because people don't always know or like see those insights of like, you have all these personal experiences, like boom, 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 boom. And you're like, guys, it's air. And they're like, what's air? And you're like, it's the air. Come on.
Yeah. What, you never tried it? Yeah.
Air.
But then some people might be like an earth sign, and they might feel really comfortable being like, I'm ground. I'm on the ground. That kind of thing.
It's signs, the elements like that, signs. My sun sign is fire. And I know that when I have like too much fire is when like my mind is very overwhelmed, and like I need a lot of earth. Like, please give me the water. Like, I know when it's imbalanced, because it's like way like things are bubbling up like in a bad way. Like there's too much boiling. Like, turn the heat down, please.
So true. What happens with too much air? Tornado. Not good. Not good. It's insane. It's crazy.
It's like, please ground me. Please ground me.
Yeah.
Yeah. A similar, well, something that you said about the bird, when the bird jumps off, like when the bird jumps and goes to fly, or like doesn't even know what's happening, but it's like, I feel like I'm supposed to jump, don't really know, but it just like does, and then it like, oh, now I'm flying, something like that.
Yeah.
It makes me think of myself doing things for the first time, or starting things for the first time, and what that feels like. And there's this other theme in my life right now of being pushed or being pulled to certain places, and they both can be helpful, but I really like to be pulled rather than to be pushed.
Yeah.
Like, say the bird mom just like pushed the bird out of the like
they do that sometimes.
Nest.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, I didn't want to do that, and now it's like too late, you gotta go fly. And then sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah.
But other times, if you get to do that on your own and walk to the places or go to the places where you feel pulled to go, that also can feel really good. And what direction that's kind of orienting me is like, where am I being pulled and where am I being pushed, and like discerning which way to go and making decisions, I think is a theme in my life right now.
I love it. I'm going to share with you a study that my friend told me about, and I'm going to be paraphrasing because I don't remember specifics very well, but the underlying principle of it made a lot of sense to me. And I think it was something like they put a rat inside of a tube. Okay.
Keep going.
I'm not calling you a rat. And so the tube has two directions, right? Forward and backward. They put a spring on the back of this rat's tail. So that way, when it moved forward, they could measure with how much force it pulled on the spring. Okay. At the front of the tube, in front of the rat, they wafted like a cheese smell, and the rat wants to move towards it, and it moved, and they could measure how much force it moved towards that smell of cheese, that pull in front of it. And then in the back of the tube, in a separate portion of the experiment, they put the smell of like a cat, and then they measured how much that rat moved forward towards the cheese smell and away from the cat smell. When that cat smell was there, it like doubled how much force that rat moved forward with. It was was like when there's a fire lit under your ass, or there's an environment that you are trying to get away from, it seems to incite something within us that moves us forward faster. And I also believe that moving forward faster, like, we can do that if we want to, and at certain times it's a really good thing and a necessary thing. I don't imagine that it always feels good. However, like, I don't imagine that rat's just like, oh, I just love the feeling being chased by a fucking like, there's no way. Like, it's way more appealing to move towards the smell of cheese, right? Like, like, there's no risk of mortality going on or anything. But my friend shared that with me, and I thought that makes so much sense. If I'm in a place of comfort, then you know the dreams or the like good things that I want to create or move towards, they're motivating to some degree. But when my environment has something in it that I feel like I need to get away from, it kind of turns on something else.
Hmm.
And that something else is pretty powerful, but it doesn't necessarily feel good to me.
Hmm.
That's at least kind of what I'm thinking of, what I'm feeling. But I'm curious, are there any like specific details you'd be willing to share or dive into about what you feel pulled towards or what you feel pushed by right now?
I feel really pulled to write, to
Mm,
share my writing.
yeah.
And I didn't really, I mean, I write so much, Julian. It baffles me. Like I look
Yeah?
at my journals and I'm just like, I can't believe I wrote all this. Like
I saw you posting your journals.
it's
Stacks.
it's wild to me, and that
Yeah.
feels very natural for me. And I just do that I just do that all the time.
Mm, mm,
And so I'm like, if I do this all the time, why not refine it and put some structure around it and just share
mm.
it?
Absolutely. Do you have
And
a
so,
is there like a structure or routine to your writing, or is it more of a intuitive engagement?
um, I've been journaling since I was in high school pretty consistently. Not every
Mm,
single day, but consistently enough that there's no gap of time. There's a page in between everything.
yeah.
And um, I do it almost every single day, and I usually just do it in the morning. Or
Mm,
there's some I do it's like I go through waves. I'm like really structured and I write 3 pages every single day, and then I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like let me just
yeah.
take one day off and then I'll do a little bit more. I'll take one day off and do a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's that's kind of my pen to paper structure. But are you familiar with Notion?
I love it.
Oh,
I
Julian.
love it.
Once I hopped on Notion
Yeah.
1 year ago, a month in January of last year, so a month in, or I'm sorry,
Yeah.
1 year and a few months. I have, oh gosh, I have books. I swear I have
Wait, I'm
like
sorry. Do you know
books.
your like Notion anniversary? Is that like you remember the first day you got on Notion?
Yeah, probably January 24th, 2024.
Oh my god.
Like it changed my life. I was like,
Yeah,
what is
okay.
this? I could
Yeah.
organize it. Oh man, I thought
Yeah.
Google Docs was amazing. This really
Yeah.
changed my life. If you enjoy writing, oh
Yeah.
man,
The
it's
sub
then,
pages within pages you can make and all the
man,
yeah, yeah.
it
Can tell you love
now,
organizing.
oh gosh, I have so much stuff that I'm just sitting on and I don't know what to do with it. And there's a part
Mm-hmm.
of me when you create, like, this is actually we're getting into it. When
Yeah.
you create something because you love to create it, you just always do it. Like a painter is
Mm.
always going to paint. They don't have to
Mm.
sell their painting. Like an
Mm-hmm.
athlete is going to play basketball no matter if they make it to the NBA or not because they love it. You're
Yeah.
going to do it because you love to do it. And I guess I've never really challenged myself to share it because I'm like, this is just for me. I love to do this. But
Mm.
I love to do it so much and
Yeah.
so consistently. I'm
Yeah.
like, there's spilling waterfalls of like
Yeah.
overflow of how much I can share.
Yeah.
And I think another part of it is I'm like, well, no one's going to read it. Why even share it?
Mm.
And that probably has held me back for some time.
Has that
And
changed?
now I just don't even care. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm doing this for the long haul. I'm like,
Yeah.
let me
Yeah.
see. I'm gonna do it anyways. Like
Yeah.
if I externally share it with people or not, I'm gonna do it anyways. So
Mm.
I'm like, why not share? Because I could see the longevity of it. And I think
Mm.
some things, um, like other things in my life that I may be forcing or trying to do, I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe this isn't the longevity of it. Maybe I'm just supposed to do this for right now,
Yeah.
and that's okay. And maybe I don't have to do it forever.
100%. You never have to do anything forever. And, the old cliche saying I think is absolutely true. Like, if your writing strikes a chord positively with one person, then it was worth sharing. then it was worth sharing. And honestly, even if it, like, I don't see that it wouldn't, but even if hypothetically it didn't strike a chord with anyone, then just the act of sharing it was worth doing it. The act of pushing beyond what might feel comfortable, or pushing beyond that feeling of like, oh, who cares about this? Why even share it? But doing it anyways, and putting yourself out of the comfort zone, that's already worth it. And so it's worth it like every step of the way. And I know sometimes it can be hard to see that within ourselves, but I think like as a third person perspective, or as your friend, like I have no doubt without in my mind that what you're posting and what you're sharing is going to touch people in their hearts in a really beautiful way, because we've already spoken. I've already gained so much value from your posts and your content. I think it's really clear through that you're very intentional and dedicated to taking care of yourself, taking care of your mind, orienting your life, your thoughts, and your activities in a way that bring you closer to health, bring you closer to fulfillment. And, I'm sure that if I'm getting and seeing the value from that, other people are doing that 100%. And it is reflected. It's reflected in, the engagement that you get on your posts, or, the people who follow you, right? I think, you gotta just do what your heart feels so called to. Never give up on it. And then be willing to share it with others. Because in that process, you're being a leader, and you're allowing and giving an example for other people to say like, hey, I can follow my heart's passion also. What you said about like when you just love doing something, you just do it. There's not this big like, oh, I gotta like, work myself up. I gotta give myself this pep talk to go get it done. I just had a conversation with Bam recently about discipline and this like idea of discipline. And, for some people and for myself, discipline in certain contexts has a very like negative connotation to it, or this like controlling, constricting idea of like boxing in and roboticizing things. But he shared with me that like when you're doing what you're passionate about, when you're doing what you love, the discipline just comes, like it follows. And sometimes you need to extend yourself a little bit beyond what you feel like doing in the moment. But when you tune into what it is you love and what makes you feel good, it's like no one's gotta push you. No one's gotta crack the whip, be like, yo, let's get it going. It's like you're already there. There's a coach being like, Lexi, you gotta get to the gym, play basketball. You're like, Coach, I've been here for hours. Where are you? I've been shooting threes. I've been here all night.
Yeah, it's a beautiful perspective for people to take into their own life of like, what are they already doing? Or what's something, if, one, what are they doing right now that doesn't require much effort from them and they love to do it, if that's cooking or gardening or like whatever it may be. And to know that like that's the thing that you love, to allot yourself the time to do the thing that you love.
Yeah.
Even if if it's just cooking like a really great breakfast, even if it's just on a Saturday, cook the best dang breakfast you can make. Like 5 hours of like hard work in the kitchen. You're making scones, you're making the buffet, like you're making the whole thing. Because that's the thing that you love.
Yeah.
So why not give yourself the time to do the thing that you love? And food is, I feel like, I don't know if there's anything that can't really be shared with people. You could share food with people. You share words, you share movement, like all the things that the options of what people could do that they love can be shared if they want to share.
I think so. I firmly believe that joy is multiplied when shared, and also challenges or obstacles are divided when shared. And so it's this beautiful like relation when you bring other people in to share what you have to do, or what you like to do, or what you love to do. Like an example of gardening, like someone may be gardening and they might love it, and they might say, hey, I'd love to take this garden to the next level, but I'd also love some help. And I would also love some company in this garden to share the joy in it. But to do that, I might have to take this teacher or coach role to, I don't know, my child, for example, and show them how to work in the garden and show them what the garden needs and how we can be friends with the garden. And then I can have company in the garden. We can enjoy each other's company. We can make a garden that neither of us could do on our own. And then we also have someone there to enjoy it with, which just increases the overall experience. And I think that that principle can be applied to anything, applied to everything. Like food is such a good one. I actually had that moment in my brain today when I was making eggs. I was making eggs and I was like, some parsley would be amazing in this. I'm like, the parsley's downstairs. I was like, does it matter that much? And I had a profound moment, existential egg moment in the morning. I went, like, who am I going to become if I choose not to take the 10 seconds to go downstairs and get the parsley and put in the eggs for like that much better of an experience? I said, what part of me is so reluctant to just spend that extra time? I got the parsley and I'm glad I did. And I think it's, you know, conversations like this that bring up principles like that, that remind me like, just go the little extra mile to make it a little bit extra better, bring a little bit extra love and joy into this little dish that I'm going to enjoy. And it pays. It pays, you know, like learning to take care of ourselves.
That's the intention behind it. You had the thought and you're like, I have the choice. What am I going to do? And your intention went for the better and desired outcome, which is to include the parsley. And if maybe you're having a really busy morning or not really thinking about it, you're like, oh, I got to do this podcast today. I have all these things that I'm going to do. Not even knowing that the thought is there. You've already made the eggs and you're eating them.
That's it.
And
I didn't even taste them.
You just it was just soup. You just like slurped it.
Thinking about the next thing. I've had that many times. Thinking about what I got to do next. Don't even taste the breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the levels of intention that I've noticed in my life as well. Of like, even when brushing my teeth, I like used to just brush my teeth, but now I'm actually thinking about brushing my teeth when I brush my teeth, and I didn't know that I was doing this. Like, I'm intentionally like, I'm going to brush this side of my teeth, and now this side, and then the top, and then this side. And before I was just like, what am I eating for breakfast? What do I got to do today? And I was just like not even thinking about it. And it's those little moments of like 2-3 minutes that just really can make such a big difference.
That's such a powerful capacity for presence. Doing something as seemingly mundane as brushing your teeth, but giving it the attention that really you deserve. And like really you're taking care of your health when you're brushing your teeth. And yeah, like asking yourself like, okay, I'm on this side of the tooth. I bet the other side needs a little bit more. Okay, that tooth is done. And I can move on to the next one. And like really being with yourself in that process. It takes a level of presence to do that. And something I want to ask you is that I know that you practice presence. I know that you invite that into your day and you live that because I can tell just from the conversation that we have, from being in your, you know, in your company in the times that we got to meet and spend time together. Does it ever feel, can it ever feel overwhelming going out into some places or parts of the world where it feels very non-present?
Non-present meaning?
As in, like, the world or the people around you being very like, oh, what's next? What's over there? Or like thinking about the past or being in the past or thinking about, you know, what might happen in the future, and not being like really with the moment that's in front of them.
Yeah. So specifically being around people who are very overwhelmed or fast forward thinking, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that
I guess what I want to
challenging?
ask is like,
Yeah.
what's that experience like for you?
Oh, I think it depends on my mood for the day of like, if I am like centered and focused, like very little things will bother me. If I'm like
Yeah.
really, really centered and really clear. I'll say like very clear, because
Mm.
then I can meet as many situations as I can with compassion, no matter what it is.
Mm.
So if someone's like really overwhelmed, I'll just be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Like okay, I'm fine.
Acceptance. Mm.
Yeah. But then sometimes if I'm overwhelmed myself, or didn't get enough sleep or didn't eat or I have a headache or something, and if the external environment is not ideal, then how do I feel? I'd say it feels like I have a short fuse.
Mm.
Like I'm just like, feels difficult to listen. Like I can listen. Actually, I feel more reactive in all situations.
Mm. Mm.
So my circuit level of like, okay, let me pause. There's no pausing. It's just
Yeah.
like whatever. It's whatever
Yeah.
wants to come out will just come
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I feel that. I
Yeah.
feel that for sure. Um,
Yeah.
I recently had this. I recently had this like level of like kind of big. I don't know how to use this overwhelmation. Like just being overwhelmed. Um, when I take on too much or too many responsibilities, and I'm having trouble keeping up with them, and then I let some of them slide, and it feels like homework I haven't done yet. I'm procrastinating on, and it's late. And every day that it's late, it's like racking up, less points or whatever, or taking marks off, kind of thing. Um, and when I find myself in that state, I find it challenging to be present because it feels like there's a lot of open loops that haven't been
Mm-hmm.
closed. There's like a lot of things that require closure that haven't been,
Mm-hmm.
you know, settled or fully engaged with. I have a hard time being present with the people I'm with. I have a hard time enjoying the small, simple things in front of me. But as soon as I take the time, focus, and dedicate myself to clearing up, you know, I'm trying to find a great analogy, but like catching up with the responsibilities that I've taken on, then it's like my mind comes back to right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely agree. It's like when I'm back to here right now and there's nothing unfinished behind me, then I have so much more to give. I have so much more compassion,
Mm-hmm.
attention, energy to share.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels really good. And
Mm-hmm.
that feels like a management technique that I'm trying to learn and reinforce in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you can relate to?
Oh yeah. It's so spot on. So spot on. And it makes me think of two things that you're kind of discussing, which is one, the external amount of responsibility of how much people have to do, which is, their tasks during the day, the things that they choose
Mm.
to do. That can be overwhelming if the quantity is high. So that's
Mm.
output. There's also your internal mental clarity, which is what's already been there if it hasn't been cleared. So
Yeah.
this is like all of the past, or like
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever has been brewing
Yeah.
since someone last slowed down to clear that. And by clearing, I just mean to have a calm mind. Let's just have that
Mm.
as a baseline, a calm mind. And
Mm.
so if, what's the forefront is like doing all the external things first, just so you have a moment to think for yourself. So
Mm.
once we clean our space, my space is clean, my tasks are done. Now I can come back to my mind and, uh, kind of focus on that to meditate or go for a walk or whatever you do to help clean your mental chatter, mental energy. Or maybe
Mm.
it can be reversed. That's how I see it, or I would do it. And I've
Mm.
experienced it myself, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
Can you elaborate on that the reversal that you just spoke, like that it can be reversed?
Um, so about 3 years ago, or maybe four, it doesn't matter. A few years ago, I listened to Spotify. Like, Spotify Wrapped, it tells you how many minutes you listen to. This was
Yeah.
probably in 2020, so maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I think my Spotify Wrapped number was like 80,000 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was that was like the top 5% of all listeners.
That's
And
a
I'm like, oh,
considerable amount of time. Yeah.
oh damn. I'm really
Yeah.
good at listening, but it's way too much.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so what even if my external environment with work, very busy with work, doing all of these things, all these different projects, working, collaborating with these people, how can I calm my mind even when my work environment can be very busy? And
Mm,
that's eliminating distractions as much as possible to decrease the amount of mental energy that I'm consuming. Don't
mm,
listen, reduce the amount of music you're listening to, or reduce whatever you're listening
mm,
to.
mm.
Like reduce the amount of TV consumption, movie watching,
Yeah.
reducing the amount of consumption on Instagram, reducing anything that requires more mental energy that is basically it's give or take wasted energy if you're not consuming an audiobook or something that you're purposely trying to gain knowledge from.
Right.
So
Right.
in that sense, like that took a very long time to go from that high of an output to just be like, I'm not going to listen to music when I'm driving to work. Like let's just
Mm,
start there.
mm. It seems like such a little thing, but it is an act of energy, like conservation, to not listen to the music. And it seems like a small thing, but added up over time, it makes that big difference. Like you said, it's manifested in that number, that 80,000 minutes, and then it's manifested in how we feel. And yeah, I think that that's something I find myself doing as well, is like turning down the world around me. Being like, okay, I've been listening to too much music for funsies with like silly lyrics and stuff. Okay, like I need to turn that down a little bit, focus back in, and be intentional. Um, yeah, I find when I feel overwhelmed, something like meditation, now where I'm at right now, it I don't find that it helps me feel settled. I find that I first need to take action on the things that I have left unfinished, and then when that's like cleared up and that's good, then I can get myself into a meditative space, because I can't help but that thing's on my mind. That thing's on my mind, and it's going to keep creating that stress. And then also, if I'm meditating instead of clearing up the things I need to do, then it's another act of procrastination, um, which I've noticed in myself. I learned about myself this past summer is like, when am I doing something that is seemingly healthy, but is actually procrastinating from my bigger purpose or passion?
That is so spot on, Julian. I couldn't agree more. And I think it's
Mm,
such an important note for people to, or perspective for people to hear on the meditation note, because like so many people are like, meditation's so important, helps you so much. It's can bring, and the outcome of like providing clarity and peace and all of
mm,
these great things. And one thing when I think about meditation for me is I need to be physically active before, I don't need to, but I would like to be physically active before I meditate for the same reason. It's kind
mm,
of like a snow globe. When you shake the snow globe up, everything is like I'm running around, I'm doing all the things, and then I allow myself to settle. That's like the
mm,
at the end of yoga, like shavasana. It's like you do all of the things so you can relax. And
mm.
that to me works for me in my body of I want to go do all of the things and then have a moment of relaxation so I can really everything could clear. And when
Yeah.
I'm not stressing so much about the external, and especially in the heightened states of overwhelm, it's like, do you really just want to sit and do nothing when there is so much to do? Probably not. So
Yeah.
like what's the options and what can we do so you can do both? You don't have to choose.
Mm. They both rely on each other. It's like, you know, those days at the summit where we were very active, it was like, we were very active. I slept really well. The days where I don't use up enough energy, I'm very restless at night. And so they both have to play off each other in like this really good balance, but also
Mm-hmm.
too much of one without the other, unsustainable. You burn out.
Mm-hmm.
Or too much of the other one, which would be like too much resting, not enough energy expenditure. You become sedentary. You start becoming blob like, and just like, oh, and then it's like hard to move. It's like, oh, that's so tiring. And it's like, like even just getting out of bed in the morning, if you're not actively moving consistently, It's like getting out of bed. It's hard. And, you know, that's an out of balance feeling for me, 100%. That's like red flag. That's like alert, alarm. Something's out of balance. On the topic of balance, I've had this, you'll love this. It's an analogy. We're all always trying to balance our lives, and we're trying to balance our perceptions and how we engage with the world. And then I think of someone balancing on like a slack line or a tightrope, and someone who's really skilled at balancing, they're not going to be making these big overcompensations to balance, right? Unless they're doing it intentionally, they're going to be stacked and centered, and each of their little compensations are really small deviations from the middle. They are always moving back and forth, but someone who's a little bit less skilled and has a little bit less experience, they're going to have to make these big overcompensations back and forth. And so sometimes I think about that in the ways that I try to manage my energy, or the ways that I'm learning to manage my energy in my life, because I can go from like really chill, and then I'll go to like really disciplined and burn myself out, and then like really chill and unproductive, and then like again really disciplined, burn myself out. But I think that that's a process of learning how to balance, and then finding our way back to the middle with like, okay, how much do I chill? How much do I expend energy? And the more that we just never give up and keep returning to it, the smaller our compensations become, and then we could become like that tightrope walker, that slackline walker that just stays right down the middle. Just like, oh, I just gotta move a little bit. I have control.
Yeah, I love that. That's so beautiful, and a beautiful reminder for people. I just love to visualize things. That's what metaphors are. I can visually see what you're talking about. Like I picture the slack line, and you're moving your arms. Like I know exactly what's happening.
Cool.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
And it's like the micro and the macro, and depending on what you're doing, the slack line, you and the slack line is going to be different. If you're just learning something new, like, yeah, you're going to make a lot of movements because you're learning something new. So it's going to be pretty imbalanced. But if you're in the flow of things and you've been doing something for like 6 months, you're like, and if you're still foiling your arms, you got to reassess and be like, what's really going on here? Because it may not be working.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's such a great analogy. Yeah, if you're still flailing your arms after like 15 years of slacklining, it's like there may be something else going on, dude. You may have a vitamin imbalance that's like not being addressed by just stepping on the tightrope. That's a really great way. It's a really great way to see it.
Yeah. And the slackline too, you said like how the micro movements, those little adjustments are what make up every single step. So every single step, someone's moving a little bit right, a little bit left, a little bit right, a little bit left. And same thing with our life. If we were to assess our day, even just take one day, if it is a little bit in balance, like, okay, maybe I slept too much. Maybe I didn't sleep enough. Like that's the micro of the whole day of what things need to be tweaked for the next day. And every day you get to reassess. You get to try again every single day. Like that's the beauty of it, is like there is no giving up, because you get to try again every single day.
Yeah, you do. And that's what guarantees success, is just returning back to it, no matter what the outcome was. But the real win is always coming back. And this analogy is amazing. I'm having these thoughts about what we've been able to gain from our awareness in primal movement. Primal movement is like an acceptance, an engagement, and like a surrender to the back and forth nature. And it's like an owning of it. It's not being like, whoa, I'm over here, and now whoa, I'm over here. It's actually like I want to go here, and then I'm intentionally going here, and then I'm intentionally going back the other way, and I'm intentionally going back that way. And it's like, instead of being like slapped around by it, it's like being with it and realizing that we are the back and forth. We are the moving back and forth. Kind of like, it's also making me think of like, I haven't done a lot of surfing, but I've heard and known people who surf, and it's like when you get pulled under and there's a current going on, you kind of want to surrender to it and just be with it, and it'll spit you back up. But if you fight against it, it might want to keep you down at the bottom.
Ooh, that the contrast of that is when, the buffalo story, when like the buffalo, I think if they're buffalo and it's raining and it's quicker for them to go through the storm than to go around the storm.
Yeah, they face it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I don't know if this would be complementary to what you're saying of like just be in
Hmm.
it rather than trying to go around it because it's more energy or more effort to go around it than just to go through it. And
Yes.
and that's the essence of like presence and awareness to just like be here now and the surrender of like, oh, this sucks. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. It sucks, but I'm here. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here
Yeah.
for it. Man, I love the analogies. And I think
Hmm.
my mind works in a very similar way to yours with like visualizing things. And so these like yeah, these visual analogies work really well. Say like, ah, I get that concept. I get that
Hmm.
concept. I can see it. I can feel it. It's all around us. Something I wanted to ask you about was you had recently just said, I think it might have been in the Slack channel, but the March Movement Challenge on Instagram, you said like this movement challenge gave me so much life,
Hmm.
and I want to know what that means for you. I want to know
Hmm.
like what you experienced from it, what it gave to you, what your favorite parts were.
Mm. Yeah. Thanks
Enlighten
for
me.
asking.
Mm.
Thanks for asking. Where the movement that we practice, primal movement, is somewhat new and not a lot of people know about it or what it
Mm.
is and the intention that we have behind it. And so the March movement was to do some like recode work every day for 30 days. And for me to visually see people doing that every single day was really inspiring to me. And it felt like we were all doing it together, even though we're like nowhere near close to each other.
Mm.
And sometimes I really want to move with people in a similar way. It's just like going to a coffee shop. Like, let's go drink our favorite coffee together, Julian. Like, that's how
Yeah.
movement feels like to me. Like, let's just all
Mm.
move similarly. You could get what coffee you want. I'll get what coffee I want, and we'll just like do
Mm.
do whatever we want to do. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what the March Movement Challenge felt like to me because doing it by myself all the time, I get like way in my head. Like,
Yeah.
I start thinking too much. Like, there are different things like go do movement outside, do movement inside, go to different spaces to do movement, listen to music sometimes. There are ways that support not feeling alone or doing it in different ways to create change. But
Mm.
then there just comes a point when you're like, please, like, I just want another individual to move
Yeah.
with in the same space. And
Yeah.
that's what the March Movement Challenge did for me. And it like there was a decent amount of people that I usually don't connect with that I got to
Mm.
see move like a lot of their movement.
Mm.
And even to see like me and Steven, we went through the coaching cert in 2023, so 2 years ago, and now we get to like see each other move and you're like, this is amazing. Like look how much you've grown and like look at what
Yeah.
you're doing now. And to
Yeah.
see everyone's progress to be on the journey together is like a really beautiful thing because unless you have a summit once a year and I
Mm.
see someone for maybe like 5 minutes and I see how they're moving. I'm like, wow, Julian, you're moving so well. Like, look at everything that you've worked on and you now get to express like that. I can see, but then when you see it online, it's like
Mm.
the repetition after repetition of repetition, and it's very reassuring and feels
Yeah.
very supportive in my mental space.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. It's creating that community environment where it may not be in your immediate surrounding, but being able to have that connection and those repetitions of connection with people. And I do love how people are sharing their movement and you get to see what individuals are focusing on. It's like a it's like an expression of where they are feeling in their body needs attention.
Hmm.
And it's so and you know, a lot of us use some of the same movements, but everyone does their movement in their own particular way to hit an area and to move in a way that feels really good in their body. And yeah, just that point of like Steven's progress, like big time. I think he just posted
Hmm.
an updated assessment in the Slack channel, and you
Hmm.
can just tell how much more open his body is, how much more free it
Hmm.
is than when we first did that certification. And it's like, yeah, it puts a smile on our face, right? It
Yeah,
puts a
for
smile on
sure.
our
That we're
face,
both
and
smiling right now. It's amazing. It's
yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. I love it so much, and that you know The fact you mentioned community, I think it's probably been the most valuable thing for me in the primal movement experience that I've had. And I think that can differ for different people, but the community also seems to be what like holds everything together and brings people in and connects people. It's such a crucial aspect of this movement. And for me in particular, I didn't come into primal movement with any like serious chronic pain that I was looking to dispel. It was more of a curiosity and a wanting to optimize, but really a wanting to be engaged and like connecting with like-minded people. And I love that there's been this almost like continued education and this like just open door policy that's like you come when you want, you don't have to stay, you can come and go, engage as much as you want, you're welcome here, you're loved here, your energy is valuable, we love having it here. That's probably been the attribute of it that's like affected me the most. There's been other modalities on Instagram that I've been interested by, and I've done some of their work and it feels really good in my body. But I tried engaging in some of their like group call, for example, and just the energy, the vibe from the environment, like did not feel, it just didn't feel that same like empowerment, that same love, that same encouragement, that same connection. It felt colder. And even though the work was really good, I like the work, I still do the work, it's just like I don't want to hang out, basically. I just don't want to hang out. And it's too bad. Yeah. It's too bad because it's really good. It's like if you get on a sports team and you love the sport, but the team has a culture that doesn't resonate. It's like, it's kind of too bad. I love the sport, but it's not good to be on this team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think people might be experiencing that a lot right now in their work, or at least in my world. There's a decent amount of people who feel like they're struggling at their job because they may love what they do or are really talented at what they do, and that environment that they're in is just it's absolutely draining them, and like draining them in all areas. And when you can find that synergy of doing what you love and being in that environment, it's just like what's the like when all cylinders firing, like yeah, that's what it feels like. Like there's no delay, like everything is just firing and moving really, really smoothly.
Yeah, I've actually been experiencing almost the flip side of that dynamic in like my working day, like doing construction, where it's actually like, for the construction world and the construction stereotypes, it's a really solid, mindful, kind group of people. But sometimes the project or the work, like people are not stoked about it. And so it's almost this like different world where it's just like the team is cool, but what we're doing is not that cool.
Is it the act of what you're doing, or like what's the project itself, or what you're like, is it the actual thing that you're doing is just boring, or what about it?
I think it's I think at times it can be the like method of approach, and I'm almost resistant to get like too specific because I don't want to share too many details. But it's kind of like, all right, here's the job that we're going to do, and then here's kind of what we agreed to do, and then we're going to start. And then you show up to the job and they're like, all of a sudden everything's different and you have to make it up as you go. And there's so many challenges along the way. And then, you know, the person who is wanting this job to be done is involving themselves in a way that maybe doesn't help it get done efficiently or in the best way. And it's just like, whoa, there's all these kind of like yellow lights, sometimes red lights. And then there's kind of this consensus that like most of the people there are like, I can't wait for this project to be done, and I hope that we don't do another project like this again.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that It's kind of that vibe there, which is pretty
Yeah.
interesting. It's having a, I think it's having a hard, it's not having a good effect on the morale of the team. That's for
Hmm.
sure. And so purpose, intention, the work that we're involved in makes a big difference in, you know, people's motivation, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
So
that
it's just,
intention and purpose is goes a long way, especially from the leader or the boss of why and how they do things, because that is shown whether it's communicated or not. It's expressed.
yeah, absolutely. And for me, it's been highlighting what we spoke about earlier, where it's like the discipline, the desire, and the passion to overcome obstacles and to get it done no matter what is there when you feel like the purpose and the meaning and the love for it is there. It's just like everything else is just like water off a duck's back. It's just like boing, bounces off, boing, bounces off. I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it. But when you're not in alignment with the task at hand or how you're directing your energy or spending your time, then you're like, every time an obstacle comes up, you're just like, do I want to jump over it? Like, not even that much.
Yeah, the challenges become more burdensome when it's, I don't know if I want to say not in alignment, but yeah, challenges and obstacles. There's so many different layers to it, and how they come
Mm-hmm.
up and where they come up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Yeah.
especially if we start feeling like this challenge isn't even worthwhile, you know? I'm not like challenges can incite growth and they can incite like strengthening yourself. But then some challenges are just like, I'm not doing that. I don't need to
Hmm.
do that. I don't want to do that. It's not giving, it's not reciprocating what I'm giving, I suppose.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm. I
mm,
have a thought on
mm.
doing something outside your comfort zone.
Yeah,
I'd love to
please.
know your thoughts. Another thing I've been thinking about recently is when we step outside our comfort zone, it kind of goes back to that push and pull of are we being pushed or are we being pulled? And for me, I feel like I recently do things outside my comfort zone when I feel supported. And if I
Mm,
don't, I'm really reluctant to do things because I'm like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. And then I feel
mm,
scared. And my fear is like too high compared to like what I feel I can support.
mm,
And um, I didn't have this clarity until like recently of like what's actually happening, of why I'm not stepping outside my comfort zone. And I wonder if, I can push, people talk about, oh, just dive into the deep end and see what happens. And if you
mm.
don't know how to swim and you don't have a life vest, you'll drown.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's what people's nervous system feels like when they do things outside their comfort zone. If they're not supported, they're like, I really need help and now I have no help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that may not always be the best case, but when there's people around to support them, like the lifeguard, like your friends, like
Mm.
you'll be okay. You got these people to help you.
Yeah. I can
they'll throw
jump in. It might be
they'll throw you the
uncomfortable.
life vest. Yeah.
Yeah. They're right there. And you know, because you have a relationship with them, you have evidence in your mind and in your body that they're there to help and support you. There's trust. And I think that makes so much sense. Because there's this feeling of, I think, safety that we want to have. We want to know that if we take a risk, we'll be okay for taking the risk. But sometimes when we're alone and there's not someone there or people around you to support, then you kind of feel like it's you versus the world. And the world is like this big kind of uncertain space. And you're like, well, I've yet to know how the world's going to respond. So, like, let's say I'm out in public somewhere and I have an urge to, I don't know, do a handstand in public or climb a tree or just something silly like that. It's like, okay, it takes more for me to do that when I'm by myself because I don't have the guarantee that I'm accepted by the people around me. And we want acceptance. We want acceptance from people because that makes us feel safe. If we're accepted, then, you know, we're not going to be separated from the group or, you know, punished or yelled at or anything like that. But if I have like friends around me and people around me, it's like, oh, I can act a fool in public because look, I got my friends. It's like, I don't care if these people like me or not because I got people right here that like me. So,
Hmm.
I already know I'm accepted. And that gives like an air of confidence. And a feeling of confidence and like okay, I have a little bit more I can extend myself because, I have this relationship and this trust with these people. And I know that they'll welcome me back into the group, even if I make a mistake sometimes, or even if I do something a little bit crazy. Um, and I think it's important that, we create that space for each other and hold that space for each other because we want each other, we want everyone to grow, like I want to support you in your growth. And so if you have this idea, this desire, be like, hey, I'm going to extend myself out in this direction in something that makes me uncomfortable and I haven't done it before. And I might even perceive it as like, oh, that's kind of like, I wouldn't expect you to do that, Lexi, but, I'll be here for you to support you as a friend to see you explore that and see if it gives you what you need. And maybe it does and maybe it doesn't. It doesn't really matter, but, what matters is being able to hold that space so you have the freedom to discover, you have the freedom to explore, and you know that you have a support system to come back to always, which is a really good thing. I think the Primal Movement community does that. It has that's like a family feeling to me.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to witness and to be part of, and it just keeps growing, which is even more beautiful.
Yeah, it's really cool, right? Like
Hmm.
even right now, you being willing to join me on my podcast is like this is a creative pursuit that's different from the context in which we initially, our friendship grew within. But
Hmm.
you're willing to come here and support me in this creative pursuit. And this is outside of my comfort zone for me. Speaking my mind, having to prepare or feel like I'm creating a good episode or, being uh, a good host, asking good questions, like trying to make the conversation flow, like all that has a level of discomfort to it. But here you are as a friend coming to support me and engage with me in that zone. It gives me a lot of like security, I suppose would be the way to say it. That like, all right, I can do this. Like I can
Hmm.
play in this field and I got my friends to support me. That's cool. They even want to come play with me. That's a really great thing. We don't want to play
Yeah,
by ourselves, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, so I think we have such a blessing in this network of support, and not only support but also of guidance. Like we
Hmm.
have a lot of really mindful and intentional people, and I think that builds a lot of trust. And so, I feel reassured that okay, if I do try something else and it is a little bit crazy and maybe it's actually not good for me or other people, I have people around me like yourself that could be like, hey, Julian, as your friend, I just want to let you know, like, maybe that's not it. Like, maybe please stop doing that. And, you know, that's a really good thing. That's a really good thing to have is like people you can
Mm,
trust. Um,
honesty. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, a community that looks out for your best interest. And
Hmm.
the thing I love about Primal Movement is like Bam, Jameson, Carly, they've always been like, there's no obligation, there's no pressure. You you come and be here if you want to be here. Like we don't need to. You're not trapped here. You don't have to be a certain way to be with us. It's like you are as you are, and you can stay, and
Hmm.
that makes people want to stay. I think of it as like a beautiful garden, like a really beautiful, effective, healthy garden isn't like it doesn't have like arms like trapping bees. It doesn't have like Sean, keep this bee in here. It's like it's just beautiful and healthy and vibrant, and the bees come and the bees just stay. And they're like, this place is really good, and that's what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the analogy of a garden and all of the um, foundations that make up the garden is like all the years and the years that continue to build this thing and to be part of it, because that's the foundation of what something is built on. And when you're part of a community and the foundation is not the same, you can really feel it. You said it feels cold. It's like the
Mm,
soil could be frozen all year round because it's so hardened,
mm.
or it could like really flourish in the summertime and be really soft and be really mushy, and in a gentle way that like people actually want to go outside and step on the ground because it feels really good and doesn't feel hard and cold.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
That was like this morning for me. I stepped outside. First thing, I woke up. Thankfully, it wasn't raining here. It's cloudy and overcast, but I stepped out. I was like, it's like kind of mild. Like it's kind of warm-ish out here. And I'm like, that's a good feeling. That's
Mm-hmm.
like, that's like inviting me outside.
Mm-hmm.
And so I haven't done this in a while because it's been relatively cold. I woke up. First thing I did, I went outside for a walk. I was like, this is great, dude. And
Mm-hmm.
the outdoors is like, I'm ready. I'm
Mm-hmm.
here. Here's the sauce you need to cook, dude. Like, come outside. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
good
I love
feeling.
that. Mm-hmm. Welcome.
Mm-hmm.
It's welcoming, open, and yeah, it feels very freeing.
100%. And the summit was a good manifestation of that because we had a few individuals who were not, uh, who had not been a part of the community for like quite yet, or maybe they were just introduced to the community, but they were invited to participate throughout the whole, 4 or 5 days. And that was their
Mm-hmm.
introduction to the community. And it was beautiful because it wasn't this gatekeeping thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it attracts a certain kind of person. It attracts the kind of person who's going to come with intention and with an open mind and with an open heart and like learn and connect with people. So it
Mm-hmm.
really, it's like a positive feedback loop. It feels like it's really good. I'm really happy.
Mm. Yeah, a positive feedback loop too is our energy can be the same thing as an individual. And when your energy is firing on all cylinders, it feels really good, because when you
Yeah.
get enough rest, you could expel all your energy. You're giving it the right nutrients, you're giving it the right inputs. It's like cultivating yourself with your own soil of like, what's the
Mm.
environment, what's the most optimal environment I can give myself every day to support myself to be the best.
Yeah. It's the cycle of nature.
The
Like
cycle of nature.
it grows, it fruits, it dies, it decomposes. Soil grows, fruits, dies, decomposes. The cycle, always.
Mm. And it's all circular because it goes up, then it goes down, it goes up, then it goes down. So it's
Uh huh. It's all the circular. It's the wave. Yeah, it's the spiral. It always comes back to the spiral. It's always the spiral. It is. It like I'm fully bought in. I'm indoctrinated on the spiral.
once you
Yeah.
see it, you can't unsee it. That's
You
the
can't
awareness.
unsee it. That
You
is the
can't un
awareness.
you can't unfeel it too.
You can't unfeel it either. I was doing a beach crawl when we were at the beach at the Primal Summit and I found a shell. You know it was in a spiral. I was like, of course. Of course. While I'm crawling on the damn beach
It's
in a literal
everywhere.
spiral. Yeah. Yeah, it was perfect. Um,
Mm.
Lexi, I feel like we've covered so much. I feel like we talked about things that are so big and some really, amazing underlying principles and this conversation did exactly what I was hoping to create with you, which was something mindful, something intentional, and something uplifting. And I feel that way right now. Um, are there any other, you know, topics, points, or questions on your mind that you want to dive into as we come to the tail end of this?
There is one thing that has been circulating in my mind, and I actually spoke about this with Coach
Mm,
Michael Amons,
mm.
last year,
He's a
and
cool
we
dude.
talked. He's amazing,
Yeah.
and it's about how our pain points can be the key to unlock what we need. And so
Mm,
that could be physically our pain, or just, we talked a lot about today, just externally, difficult situations, challenges, but
yeah.
they often can hold the key for us to do whatever we need to do with it, to transform it and transmute it into whatever it needs to be. And so I just want to leave people with that of seeing the pain with the key and knowing that you can open it and it will transform into something else, and the pain won't always be there.
Mm. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Within the pain that we normally shy away from, there's the key. There's the key to
There's
growth.
the key. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that, Lexi. This is exactly what I wanted from this conversation, was that one of one Lexi wisdom. The people need it. The people definitely need it. And yeah, if anyone's listening to this and wants to engage with you, find out about your projects, your work, understand you, connect with you, what's the best place for people to do that?
They can hit me up on Instagram. It is tall, TALL _ Treks, TREKS.
Boom. Instagram. That's the number one spot. That's awesome. Well, Lexi, thank you so much for putting your faith in me, giving your time and energy to this conversation. I appreciate it deeply, and I could definitely see more of these happening again.
Thank you, Julian. This has been absolutely amazing. I I feel so good. Your intention and presence were amazing, and I just have so much gratitude and respect and admiration for what you're doing. I love what you're doing, so keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. I will. And that's the end of the cast.